Okay, as Masechta Beya, it's interesting that it's Masechta Beitzah, but we call it Masechta Beya. Now, really, it probably should be called Beitzah. If you take a look at Rabbeinu Chananel on the side, at the top, he writes a little poem. Askel Masechta Beitzah, Be'ezras Gadol Ha'etza. So Beitzah and Eitza go ahead and rhyme, but Beya and Eitza don't rhyme. So you see that what Rabbeinu Chananel pronounced it as Beitzah, but we call it Beya for some reason. Masechta Beya. In fact, it has nothing to do with eggs. The only reason it's called Masechta Beitzah is because the first word in Masechta is Beitzah. It really has nothing to do with eggs. Really, it has to do with Yontif, Hilchos Yontif. It's really it's and face the Mashanim, we call it Masechta Yontif. Like this Masechta Shabbos, Masechta Erevin, Masechta Yontif. So we know that the 39 Avos Malachos, that they apply to Yontif as well, with the exception of Eichel Nefesh. We know that Eichel Nefesh, which leads to many other heterim using the Svar of Mitoich Shahutro, Eichel Nefesh, is put for other things as well. But that's the crux of the Masechta is Hilchos Yontif, but it does cross over with Hilchos Shabbos, Peprat in the Inyan of Muktzah. The Inyan of Muktzah, and there is be'emes two types of Muktzah, fellas. There's Muktzah of Tiltel, and there's Muktzah of Eichel. Tonight we're going to see a lot of Muktzah of Eichel, but I'd like to just bring back a memory, something that we learned in Masechta Shabbos and Daf Kuf Chof Gimel Amid Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi Yomer, Kol HaKelim Nitalim, all Kelim can be taken, Chutz Min HaMasar HaGadol, except this big saw, like a lumberjack saw. Yes, it's Shamachresha and a coulter. The coulter of a plow can't be taken. So these are Kelim that you can't take. You can't. And Tarabana, initially they said 3 Kelim could be taken on Shabbos. Miktsoi shel devela, that's the type of thing to pry apart. They used to have these figs stuck together. The zuhama listarin shel kedera, they had the spoon to take the stuff that floats to the top of the pot. The sakin katana shel gabi shulchan, and a small knife. Now, where did this whole din of muktzah come from? Why, if anything, what happened? So says the Gemara says a little later on, Amar Chanina, b'mei Nechemya ben Chachalya, the days of Nechemya, the Nami Nechemya, Nishnas Mishnasu, this Mishnah was stated of Rabbi Yossi Yomer Kol HaKelim. Yichsiv, Vayom Mahema, in those days, Vayisi b'Yehuda, I saw people in Yehuda, Dorchim Gasais b'Shabbos u'Meivim Aremas, that they would carry on Shabbos. They would literally carry Aremas, carry something on Shabbos. So what happens? He stood up and he said, everything's awesome. If Shabbos has got to the school, Shabbos has got to the extent so far out to the cut that people are carrying on Shabbos, right? He asked everything. And this is the sheet of the Ravid, that the reason for Muktzah is al Chaitzah. The reason for is Chaitzah. You're worried about you may come to Chaitzah. We spoke out of Masechta Shabbos, how so much of part of the Masechta is spent on Chaitzah, right? Yitzias Shabbos. There's so many of all the Masechta, of all the Avos Malachos. We don't spend half as much time as is be doing on Chaitzah. And we spoke out because Chaitzah is Malacha Gerua. We spoke out of Nor Zerua that said there's no intrinsic change in the object itself. If you think about all the Avos Malachos, you change the object. So it goes that. Charisha, you're changing the ground. So everything. Eifa, you're baking, right? You're changing something. You're grinding. You're winnowing. You're changing it from the status quo. So the object remains the same. You're just transporting it from one locale to another locale. That's why it's Malacha Gerua. As a result, Nehemiah said everything's asa. As people became more diligent in keeping Hilchos Shabbos, they permitted more and more and more. So that's one type of muktzah. We saw in Daf Mem Hey in Hilchos Shabbos and on Masechta Shabbos the machlokes between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. That Rabbi Shimon, the Gemara uses the lashon leslei muktzah, and Rabbi Shimon islei muktzah. But as we said then, and as we'll repeat now, it doesn't mean he doesn't hold the muktzah. He's not doesn't hold of the far-reaching chumras of muktzah. He's more mekel in muktzah, where Rabbi Yehuda is more machmer in muktzah. And the Gemara there in Daf Mem Hey Amid Beis is paskin like Rabbi Shimon. So this Masechta we're going to begin, and the first we're going to say three dinim. The first one we're going to deal with extensively. The other two are brought in agav the first one, because the other two really are nothing to do with Hilchos Yontif. One is a Hilchos Pesach Dikadin, and one is a Chulin Dikadin, Masech the Chulin. But they're brought in, as we'll see a Rashi in a second. So the Masechta that is full of halacha, full of Hilchos Yontif. Probably the most famous is Erev Tavshilin. The second parak deals with Erev Tavshilin. And again, along the way, if you listen, you will learn B'ez Hashem. We should strike together. Says the Mishnah. Beitzah shenolda b'yontif. An egg is born on Yontif. So what's wrong with that? An egg is born on Yontif. Very geschmack, right? Right. Beis Shammai oimrim. Beis Shammai says toichel. Beis Shammai says you could eat the egg. Beis Hillel oimrim lo yisleichel. Beis Hillel says you can't eat the egg. So who's more machmir? Beis Hillel is more machmir because Shammai lets you eat it, and Beis Hillel says you can. Beis Shammai oimrim sa'ar b'kazayis. What's the shear of sa'ar by Pesach or by Yirah by Yematzah? Is b'kazayis. The chametz is kaiseves. Chametz is that date of Yuma fame, right? Masech the Yuma, that the shear of Svia on Yom Kippur is the kaiseves, the date size. Beis Hillel oimrim, however, Beis Hillel is of the opinion zev is b'kazayis. So who's more machmir? Beis Hillel, because you're going to come to the shir of Yirah by Matzah at an earlier date. You'll come to the shir. Excuse the pun. You come at the shir of a kazayis, and like Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai, you have a little more time. Hashoich third din. Hashoich it chayev oif biyant. If someone shechs a chayev oif biyant. Now we know shechita. There's two halachas by a chaya that's different by a behema. The first one is what? Kisi adam. What's the second one? Chaylev is mutter, right? The chaylev of a chay is mutter because why? Because the chaylev is the parts they murim the Gutta Kodesh Baruch Hu from a carbon. You can't bring a chay as a carbon, right? You can't bring. Meshech Chachma says to I mean, imagine if you have to bring a deer as a carbon. Good luck, right? You have to catch the deer. It's not this kind of plain guy, right? So Hashem brings karbanos from things that are nymphs, domesticated animals that you find in the yard. So therefore, so there's a din of kisi hadam. So you can shech the chayev oif b'yontif Beis Shammai oimrim. If you do shech, yachba b'deker, go ahead, take a shovel, dig in the ground, v'yachas, and cover it up. Go ahead and go dig in the ground and cover it up. Beis Hillel oimrim lo yishchai, don't shech elam kain haya lo offer muchim b'vayon. You can't shech unless you had the offer permitted while it was still daytime. Okay, so we know you can go ahead and shech on yontif. It's not a problem, right? However, if you can't shech says Beis Hillel unless you can do kisi adam. Shem shochat shiach b'v'deka v'yachasa. But Beis Hillel is moided that if you do it, you can go ahead and stick the shovel in the ground. We'll see what that means. And the Mishnah concludes it. She'efa kira muchenhu, because the ish in an oven is muchen, which doesn't seem to have to do with anything. So Rashi helps us out. What does Rashi tell us? She'efa kira muchenhu. The Gemara, boy, my kama. The Gemara is going to ask, what are you talking about? So very good. So if you don't know what we're talking about, Rashi tells you, don't worry. Okay? Now, why are all these three things mentioned? I mean why? Says Rashi in the Mishnah, Sar b'kazayis, Mishum dahani tlas mili, these three things, have you made kula Beis Shammai and Churma Beis Hillel. They're all from the kulas of Beis Shammai and the churmas of Beis Hillel, Gabe Yontif. All these three things regarding Yontif. We're having a shchit on Yontif, one's by Hilchos Pesach, and one is by an egg on Yontif, whether you can cook it or not. So these all Beis Hillel was machmir of Beis Shammai. So therefore they learn together. The Gemara Farish Tamayu, and the Gemara will go expand the reasons for each and every one of them. Okay, that's the Mishnah. So we begin the sugya, and with an obvious question: what's the machloikis between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? We're going to see tonight two terutzim. Tonight we're going to see two terutzim Be'ez Hashem, and tomorrow we're going to see another two terutzim. Okay, says the Gemara. B'mayaskina, what are we dealing with over here? Now, why would you say, guys, why would you say you can't eat this egg? You have a chicken, gives birth to an egg, it's Shabbat, it's Yontif. Why can't you eat it? Why would you think? No, what is noilad? So it's a form of what? It's a form of muktzah. Okay, it's a form of muktzah. Noilad l'chayra is a form of muktzah. Now, this is muktzah has nothing whatsoever to the muktzah that I just described to you when I read you the Gemara in Shabbos, right? That muktzah means set aside. But again, just to understand, muktzah means it's v'katz, like it's set aside. This might be deraisa. Clearly, the muktzah that we described by Tiltel regarding Kalim, that was clearly the Rabbanan. That was the takana of the Chemia. His muktzah might be close to the Araisa, says the Chasam Sofer, or even the Araisa. So again, we use the lashon of muktzah, but don't go ahead and again, when I say muktzah, you think about don't touch something, right? This is different type of muktzah. It's a different animal. I got a chicken that is, has a sign on it. Eat me. That's it. This is dinner. This is young. This is suda. It's yantif. You can shech. You can do everything and eat the chicken, right? So is that muktzah? No. So now, if the egg comes out of it, is that noilad?
Yeah.
Huh? It's like a piece of chicken. It's a piece of chicken. So what's the reason for Beis Hillel saying it's hustle? If you're speaking about a chicken that's oimid lachila, my tamayid Beis Hillel. What's the time of Beis Hillel? Ochlo deifrisu. It's a piece of ochlo. It's a piece of food that just separated from its source. There's nothing wrong, guys. This chicken was edible. Your mind was on the chicken. There's no muktzah here, right? You can eat the chicken. So just like I'll eat the chicken, I'll eat the egg that comes out of the chicken. Ella must be speaking. A hen. You got this hen. This hen is a money maker, right? It produces eggs, and therefore there's no way in the world your mind is on to eat this chicken, this hen, because you want the hen around. That's it. Huh? This is big time muktzah. So my tamayu de Beis Shammai. What's the reason for Beis Shammai? Right? Good. What's the reason for Beis Shammai? Muktzah. It's what? How can Beis Shammai say that what that is that the egg is what is kosher? The egg is muktzah. Why is the egg muktzah, guys? Because the chicken's muktzah. Before noilad, guys, it doesn't say noilad. Notice, doesn't say noilad. Why is the egg muktzah? Just like the chicken, when it's standing to be eaten, the egg is viewed as a piece of food. So too, when the chicken is not oimid to be eaten, it's muktzah. So the piece of egg, the egg that comes out, is a piece of muktzah chicken. And therefore, so why could Beis Shammai say you could eat it? Great, right? We're all set up. In other words, I don't understand the machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hillel mimanav shach. If you're going to tell me it's speaking about an edible chicken, I don't understand Beis Hillel. And it's speaking about an inedible chicken because you're using it for the eggs, I don't understand Beis Shammai. In other words, clearly there's a distinction. One is clearly food, one is clearly muktzah. What's the reason the egg is also according to Beis Hillel, and why is the muktzah according to Beis Shammai? Chaim, you look perplexed.
No, because the chicken isn't ready. The chicken isn't shechted yet, so it's not really food.
We view it as food. Chicken, in other words, once you have your mind on it, that you could use this as food. That's a hechet timsa that in order to eat it, there's a shchita, but this is food.
Okay.
I'm answering you. This is food. In other words, you're right that you need a preparatory step, but how do you view it? I view it as food. And this is a site ticket. There's a Yeridei ticket in. I can't eat this food without a shchita.
I guess like uncooked food, the same thing. It's like uncooked
food. Preparation. Yeah, exactly. Again. Okay, so what's noilad? Noilad. Here's what noilad is. Noilad is a word that you know from before that the Gemara is not mentioned. In other words, somewhere along the line you all up in Masech the Beitzah, and somewhere along the line you made it through the first daf, and somewhere along the line you know the Americans are territory noilad. So licked and cut noilad. Shine. We didn't say anything about noilad.
Louis Rebbe was a clear out there.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that an expense would be on his mind.
Nothing to do with expense. If this chicken is made legadol beitzim, that's what it's for. No, lav dafka. No, lav dafka. You can have $1 trillion in the bank. If this chicken's for eggs, it's eggs. Okay.
Same like that. I guess that's put aside for muktzah before Shabbos. That means you don't have.
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Shabbos is different than the Gedarim of Shabbos might be contingent upon this more. Anyway, l'chayla pachas. We have it's set up well. Good. You're all good. Now. So the Gemara says, so what's the reason Beis Shammai? No. Now, umay kusha in the Hakdama, guys. Is there a man the Amma who says there's a not muktzah is not so severe? Of Shimon, right? Why does Rav Shimon hold? Guys, in Daf Mem Hey in Shabbos, you go ahead, you light a candle. Guys, you light a lamp. What's the fuel for the lamp? Oil. Can you go ahead and move this? No, you can't. Why? As long as it's lit, it's muktzah machmas issa. The light goes out, there's leftover oil. Can you use it? Says Yehuda, no way. Says Rabbi Shimon, of course you could. Why? Because I don't hold this muktzah. I don't hold in this case it's muktzah. So that's the one of the instances that we learned that Rabbi Shimon does not hold the muktzah. Now there are muktzahs that he does hold from, but that's not one of them. So another again, we say less than muktzah, that there's a kula by muktzah. So Fred the Gemara, what's the problem? Let's say Beis Shammai holds like Reb Shimon. In other words, I got a new kimta. It's speaking about a chicken that's made to go ahead and lay eggs. Why is the egg mutter if the chicken's muktzah? I don't hold such. I'm not so machmir. This muktzah is not muktzah. You hold like Rabbi Yehuda, it's muktzah. That would be a good, and therefore that would explain. And Beis Hillel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. That would be Maslik and Vash. It'd be a very beautiful teretz. Let's Shtelzich. Beis Hillel goes according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds the muktzah. Beis Shammai holds like Rabbi Shimon, who doesn't hold the muktzah. The Mela, this chicken that's muktzah is only according to Rabbi Yehuda. Azoi hal Beis Hillel. The chicken's not muktzah according to Beis Shammai. Rabbi Shimon. Azoi hal Beis Shammai, which is the Gemara's teretz. My time is muktzah. And for the Gemara, my kushya, what's your problem? What's your problem? In other words, it's not a kasha. Dilma Beis Shammai, less than muktzah. Maybe Beis Shammai does not hold of muktzah. Maybe he doesn't hold the muktzah. Look at Rashi. Less than muktzah. The Dilma Kreb Shimon Svir Lahu. Maybe he holds like Rav Shimon. Dama Perikira, Daf Mem Dalit, Amid Aleph, Meiser Hashem, Shebener, Ushebekara, Asa. That's Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Matir. Good. So now you have a good teretz. So the Gemara's kasha is, guys, what's the kasha?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the kasha. Kasal Kedaitach, I'll tell you what the kasha is. Guys, in other words, it's a funny dialogue. What's time of the Beis Shammai? What's the kasha my time of the Beis Shammai? We got an answer. He holds like Reb Shimon. Good. He says, no, I'll tell you what, here's my problem. Kasal Kedaitach, afilu man dishori b'muktzah, even the one who says it's mutter by muktzah, b'noilad is asar. So here's noilad. Here's the first time you saw it in noilad. Now, guys, what's the difference between noilad and muktzah? Move up like one step so I could see Yehuda. I don't want to know what he's doing. I got to make sure I got to keep my eye on him. You know that. Guys in the back, you always. Guys, listen. What's the svara that even if you don't hold the muktzah, you would hold the noilad?
Muktzah was there before Shabbat. Was not there.
Muktzah was there.
It was not.
Okay, so in other words, even if I didn't go ahead and say I'm going to use this, I didn't have my mind on it, could I have had? Ostensibly, yes, it was in the world. This chicken, the egg, was not in the world. So here's the kasha. Even if you're going to tell me that he holds like Rav Shimon, that's only le'inyan muktzah. But the hechered madrega of muktzah, such as noilad, that he would not hold like. And that's the kasha. My tamay of the Beis Shammai that it's muta, it's noilad. And noilad, even the Rav Shimon would say is asa. Says Rashi, Kasal Kedaitach, Lahachi Parchin, in my time with the Beis Shammai. Because Sal Kedaitach, we think, the Kasal Kedaitach, afilu, I'm trying to do two things once. Afilu Rav Shimon, the Shari b'muktzah, b'noilad asa. Even Rav Shimon, who would hold by my muktzah is muta, by noilad b'asa. The ilu b'muktzah sphirale, le'mekatzi and shemidaite, midi the chazile. A person's mind is never away from something that he could see. Aval noilad, l'haviyada, then havidaite alave. But noilad, he couldn't possibly know to have it. So you have an ice and a svara to go ahead and make a difference between noilad and muktzah. Guys, we're good? You good? Everyone's good? So now you have a kasha. Because even Reb Shimon would agree by noilad. So, and since the chicken is noilad, what's the reason Beis Shammai would say the egg is muta? Good. I said the chicken's not, I meant the egg is not. Amar Rav Nachman la'olam b'tanagolas amedes l'gala beitzim. We're speaking about a chicken that's for eggs. Who the islay muktzah, islay noilad. Who the leslay muktzah, leslay noilad. Guess what? No problem. Your havamina was there's a chilik between muktzah and noilad. The man the amma who holds muktzah is okay, holds noilad's okay too. And therefore that's the reason for Beis Shammai that it's mutter. So we're holding on to that teretz. He holds like Rav Shimon. But Rav Shimon Pashtus will go ahead and say, just as muktzah is mutter, noilad's also mutter. So you have a teretz now. My time in the Beis Shammai, we're speaking about what type of chicken? A chicken that's raising eggs. And it's muktzah, machnish shois. It's noilad, machnish merois, right? We don't care. That's your teretz. That's your teretz. If it will work out, it'd be a good teretz. Okay, now, what is this teretz contingent upon? That Beis Shammai, like Shimon holds like Beis Shammai, and Beis Hillel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Good? Okay. This is Hilchos Yantif or Hilchos Shabbos? What? Which one? Yeah, good. Says the Gemara. Umi, who gave this teretz of Nachman? Says the Gemara, Umi Amar of Nachman Hachi. Noila Beis Shammai, let me fair rice. This thing misses this thing Noila. Bless thing muktzah less than Noila. Beis Shammai Kreb Shimon. Beis Hillel Kreb Yehuda. Umi Amar of Nachman Hachi, that Beis Hillel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Can you possibly say that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda? But Tanan, Beis Shammai Yomrim, Magbiin Meyala Shulchan, at Samais Uklipin. You're eating on Shabbos, not Yantif. You're eating on Shabbos. You have bones. You have shells. What are those called? Those are called muktzah. Can you pick them up and take them off the table? Mendy's mamish on your game. It's machlokes. Beis Hillel says, "Misalik es atavla kulo menara." You take the whole table and you shake it. You know why? Because it's muktzah. So Beis Hillel holds the muktzah like Rabbi Yehuda. From Rav Nachman, it says Rav Nachman, Anu ein lanu. I skip. Everyone says, "My VML shulchan," you can pick it up. Beis Hillel says you take it off the table. From Rav Nachman, I don't have that gersa. Anu ein lanu ella Beis Shammai Reb Yehuda. Beis Shammai says you have to pick up the table and shake it off because he holds like Reb Yehuda that it's muktzah. Beis Hillel Reb Shimon that your mamish could pick it up off the table, mamish the bones and mamish the shells and take it off. So guys, we got a major problem. Rav Nachman is the one who gave the answer that said that Beis Shammai, the case is speaking where it's an egg-bearing hen. And Beis Shammai does not hold of noilad because he holds like Rav Shimon. And Beis Hillel says the egg is asa because he does hold of noilad, because he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. So you see by Hilchos Yantiv, he's holding like Rabbi Yehuda. Fred the Gemara, I have an Ofna Mishnah in Masechta Shabbos where Rav Nachman, who gave the teretz by Yantif, is saying that Beis Hillel holds like Rev Shimon. He doesn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda. He says you could take the muktzah off the table. So your teretz doesn't hold up, Rav Nachman. You're playing two sides of the fence. You tell me it's muktzah by Yantif, and you tell me it's mutawat by Shabbos. Are you with me? Cheshbon, guys, you with me? Good. In Cheshbon, there's no chilik. In the answer to the teretz is chilik. What's chilik amad?
You have no use for this stuff.
Again, question: is it muktzah or not? Yes. Again, at this time, even though you can eat the egg tomorrow, this day it's your mind's working this way. There's a difference between an egg and a shell that's been used, right? But at the moment, at that time, when your egg can't be eaten, it's a muktzah. So right now, that's the same thing. You're right. In Achinami. But right now, the muktzah held. Says the Gemara. What's the teretz? Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman's got a teretz, guys. Notice I was hacking. One was Yantif, one was Shabbos. Listen to this teretz because it's very shrer. Guys, listen to this. Amar Rav Nachman. Gabe Shabbos. Disasam latana Reb Shimon. By Shabbos, that the Tana went ahead and learned the Stamish like of Shimon. Did nan michatkin es had beluin. You can cut gourds lifnei abehema. That's not such a chiddush. There's hanavela lifnei aklovim. Now, nevela means what? A dead animal. When did it die? On Shabbos. Shabbos, this animal was alive. It's a balchai. It's muktzah. correct? And what happens on Shabbos? Then it dies. Says Reb Shimon, you know what you could do? You can go ahead, it's a Stam Mishnah, you can go ahead and cut. So what do we see? Now, what's the whole purpose of a Stam Mishnah, guys? What's the purpose of a Stam Mishnah? I want to show you an unbelievable Rashi. Look at Amid Beis, guys. You'll remember it. We always say a Stam Mishnah, right? Halachic is Stam Mishnah Kareb Meya. Good. So let's go historically, guys. I've mentioned this more than once. When Rabbi used all his money, Rabbi was a very wealthy man, and he saw that the Torah Shabbat was going to be forgotten. So he used his money to gather together multitudes of people who knew it by heart. You had different girsais. The girsa that he used was the girsa of Rav Meir. Rav Meir was the most concise. That's why the Mishnah is written in a very concise manner. I spoke this out by Ton of Ashire, that's why we left out. So what did Rebbe do to go ahead and show you that he held that a certain Tana held that's the halacha? He didn't list the Tana by name. So take a look at this Rashi, guys. The Rashi, Man Sasan Lamasnisan. You go down a few lines where it gets thin. Who say the HaMishnah? Ukeshara divrei chacham v'yashru be'einav. When Rebbe saw the words of a chacham and they were right in his eyes, shanon stam, he learned it anonymously. V'lo hiskis shem amroi aleihem, and he didn't mention the name of the person. Kidei shlo yehei shenuya mipi yachid, that it should not be learned in the name of an individual. V'nirin ki'ilu nishnu mipi hamerubim v'yasu kamoisam. That mashma that he did against the majority. In other words, if you mention one person's name, you know what you're saying? That the majority don't hold like him. And he's a das yachid. So what did Rebbe do? It's a beautiful Rashi, guys. What did Rebbe do? He didn't list it to anybody. So now, no one's listed. That's it. That's what Rebbe did. Now, so guys got it? Avrami. Rebbe could have gone ahead if he would have listed a name. So they said, I don't hold like him. By not putting a name, it was Rebbe's way of saying this is the halacha. Geshmak. Now watch. We see this is a Stam Mishnah. That guys, you can cut a nevela for a dog. Rebbe did not say in the name of anybody. Why? Because he wanted to tell you by Shabbos the halacha is muktzah is like Rav Shimon. By not listing in Hilchah Shabbos, you're cutting it up for a dog. It's nevela. Nevela is muktzah. You can feed it to your dog. Why do you see? He holds like Rav Shimon, right? So who did Beis Hillel hold like by the tablecloth? Like Rav Shimon, you know why? Because the tablecloth with the eggs, the shells and the bones, that was the Hilchah Shabbos to get in. But what about Yom Tif? That's where we had Beis Hillel say Beitzah Shanel Yom Tif Zasa. So what do we need to do to fit in the equation? We need a Stam Mishnah that goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. That he does hold the muktzah by Yom Tif, right? But good. That would finish it off. Aval Amid Beis. Aval Gabe Yom Tif. Disasam lo tana Rabbi Yehuda. How do you know that? This is a Mishnah later on in this Masechta. Ein mavkoyin eitzim min hakairis. You can't split eitzim from beams. Fellas, if you have beams, you're building a house, right? You see the beams outside the house. Are those muktzah? Avrami, those ain't muktzah grav misu. Why? Because you're not using that for firewood. You're using that for building. Now, what happens if it gets split on Yom Tif? It's like it's noilad, right? It's like it's muktzah. You can't do it, right? And a beam that broke on Yom Tif, now you can't use it as a beam anymore, right? Can you burn it? No. So this is a Yom Tif, and why can't you burn it? Because your mind wasn't on it before Yom Tif. Is this muktzah? Yes. Can you burn it? No. Mukim lo lebeis Hillel kidim Rebbe Yehuda. Michti man sasminas mislan Rebbe. Maishna b'Shabbos the sasnuk Reb Shimon. Maishna b'Yom Tif the sasnuk Reb Yehuda. So that's Mendy's question. Mendy was bothered by. It really seems a little odd. Why is he going ahead and being machmir by Yom Tif and being what? I've been sitting with you a lot of years. I know what you're thinking, which is very sad. Anyway, so the says the good Rebbe has to know what the Talmidim are teaching. My Rebbe used to say, guys, as Megatov to Richtige Derech treft men. If you go on the right way, you'll meet. So you're a very logical thinker. Believe it or not, you are. So I logically, I knew you're going to get it. I knew you're going to get it. So that it doesn't make any sense, right? So fair. Okay. So fair rice. You'll tell my mother by PTA. Now, so it says the Gemara. So you have what Stam Mishnah. So it comes out by Shabbos. The Stam Mishnah guy says what? Makel. Stam Mishnah by Yontif is Machmir. Beis Hillel holds by Shabbos with Makel. He holds by Yontif with Machmir. Why did Rebbe go ahead and suss the Mastis in that way? And now you know how Rebbe plays with the Stam Mishnahs. It's a Geshmaka Rashi, no? It's a Gavaldig Rashi to know. Now, for Rebbe, Maishlam is Shabbos the Sussan Kreb Shimon, Maishlam Yontif the Sussan Kreb Yehuda. Amri, Shabbos the Chemira, V'layasi Lezuzeba. Shabbos was his chomer, and you won't come to go ahead and be what? Guys, and you won't come to be Makel in it. Sussan Kreb Shimon. Right, the Makel, Yontif, the Keel, Yontif, which is less. Guys, Shabbos is in Issa Chorus, Shabbos is in Issa Skila, Yontif is a lav. So therefore, you're more apt to go ahead right and be Makel. Fiasi Lezuse Bey, Sasan La Karebi, Yehuda de Machmir. So we have a teretz. Guys, we have a teretz. What's a teretz? Our mission is speaking where it's speaking about a chicken that's oimid for its egg, right? What's the reason for Beis Shammai? Rav Shammai doesn't hold the muktzah. What's the reason Beis Hillel that it's asa? He does hold the muktzah. How could Rav Nachman say he does hold the muktzah? By Shabbos he doesn't hold the muktzah. By Shabbos is Mekel. By this is Machmir. Okay, that's the svar. I'll tell you an unbelievable Chassam Sofer. That's all right. I saw this in the Shiur Mitzvah Halacha, and he says I saw this in the Chassam Sofer, but I couldn't find it. And I found it. I found it. I have it. I didn't put it out. But listen, this is geschmack. Guys, geschmack. Listen, it'll put a smile on your face. We opened up the Gemara in Shabbos. We began the Hakdama to the Shir, right? What was the reason Hananya ben Chachloi, Nechemia ben, I always forget his name, Nechemia ben, not good with me. Nechemia ben Chachalia. Nechemia ben Chachalia, guys, right? Guys, listen. Nechemia ben Chachalia, what's the reason? He came and he saw people doing what? Bringing in the sheaves. What were they doing? They were carrying, yeah? So what's the reason for muktzah? Is carrying, right? The reason for muktzah is carrying. What are you permitted to do on Yontif? Oichel nefesh. Mitoich that oichel nefesh, what are you allowed to do? You're allowed to carry. So therefore, since you're allowed to carry, therefore, there had to be more machmir and yontif by muktzah, because the whole reason of muktzah was to strengthen haitzah. And what are you worried about is haitzah? But not by Shabbos, because you're not allowed to carry anyway. So therefore, there's no reason to do more machmir by muktzah, because the whole reason for muktzah is haitzah. That's why I said the Chassam Sofer. It's a beautiful shtickle. Beautiful piece to explain why we're more machmir. How good? That's why we're more machmir by yontif, because gufa, that's the gezerah. Because therefore you have to be more concerned about carrying because you're permitted to carry, and that's why they're more machmir by yontif than by Shabbos. Must look at that. It's not gezerah. It's just the reason. It's the reason behind it. It's not gezerah. It's the reason behind it. Okay. Now not that we all understand the teretz, the Gemara is going to slug it up, and you're going to have to come a new shot. Okay, always like that, right? Says the Gemara. B'mai ukmisla. What are you telling? What are you speaking about? What are you speaking about, guys? B'mai mukma. B'mai ukimta. B'tanagolas and medesagala beitzim, right? Umishum muktzah, and the egg is muktzah. Ihachi ad the niflagi b'beitzah liflagu b'tanagolas. Guys, why is this egg muktzah? Because the chicken's muktzah. So why are Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel arguing the egg? I came first, right? arguing the chicken. Guys, yeah? Why are they arguing the egg? If the whole svara is muktzah, why are you jumping to second base, arguing first base? The chicken, right? The chicken should, Beis Hillel should say the chicken is asa to eat, and Beis Shammai should say the chicken's mutter to eat. Why if it's a svarim muktzah, why are you going ahead to the egg? Why don't you just shtelzich on the chicken? It's a great kasha. This is not a teretz in Noilad. Yeah, there's no difference in Noilad. In the end, there's no difference, right?
Actually, you wouldn't eat the chicken with you, would eat the egg.
What? Why would you?
Because the chicken could still be more.
But the chicken's muktzah. Once it's muktzah. Same svara. Says the Gemara. And for the Gemara, so this is a shtickle like Yankel wanted to say in a different way. The Beishami did a shari, and the opposite. By telling me an egg, you tell me a bigger chiddush, Yankel. You're telling me that afal pidus is far to say that noilad is worse than muktzah. Afal pikein, you hear a chiddush that Reb Shimon that Rabbi Shammai permits it, even though it's noilad. That's a big chiddush. You wouldn't have heard that in the chicken, guys, because chicken there is no noilad that Yankel just said. There's only muktzah. By telling me the egg, you created the noilad, and afal pk Beis Shammai permits you to eat the egg, despite the fact it's noilad, and there's more of a svara to say noilad would be also even according to Reb Shimon. Fred the Gemara of leflugi b'tana goylesly da'achakoyach the Beis Hillel did a muktzah asrei. So why did you opt to tell me the chiddush in Beis Shammai? You could have told me the chiddush in Beis Hillel. What's the chiddush in Beis Hillel? That even though it's muktzah, just a regular muktzah without a noilad, it's asa. The chitem, I'll give you a teretz. Koyach de tera adif. It's always a bigger chiddush to be what the koyach de tera. Shad gemar v'nifgu b'travayu. Tana goylis ha'imedis the gadol beitzim. Hi u beitzasa. Beishamay oimim toichal. So in other words, guys, I got it. Fred the gemara kasha, guys. You could have told me both kedushim. You could have said a chicken that had an egg on yontif, it, and the egg are mutter to eat. Beis Hillel says asa to eat. Since you brought in the chicken, you would have heard the chiddush of Beis Hillel regarding muktzah. Since you brought in the egg, you would have heard the chiddush of Beis Shammai regarding noilad. But we didn't mention chicken. We only mentioned egg. So for that reason, we just looked up pshat Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Because of that kasha, that you didn't mention chicken, which would have told me the chiddush in Beis Hillel. Good. Since you didn't mention that, says the Gemara, that's not the pshat. That's Rav Nachman's teretz is not good. El Omer Rabbah, I'll give you another teretz. Again, what are we looking for, guys? We're looking for the reason machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. La'olam b'tanagolos ha'medes la'achila. We're speaking about what? We're speaking about a chicken, right? A chicken that's oimid to be eaten. So now Beis Hillel makes no sense. It's food. Ubi yontif shechaliyos achas Shabbos askinon. And the yontif took place after Shabbos. And we're going to introduce to you something very, 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 very difficult, the concept of hachana, the concept of preparation. Okay, there is basically there is an idea that in order to eat food, you have to prepare. You have to prepare food. For chol can be meichen yontif, chol can be meichen the Shabbos. Shabbos cannot be meichen for yontif, and b'yom hashishi is chol. Anything that's not Yom Hashishi, anything that's not Chol, cannot be meichen for one for the other. This is a dinda raisa, according to most poskim. Says Rabbi. Says the Gemara. What are we speaking about over here? You're speaking about a chicken that's to be eaten. And there's no problem. The chicken you could eat, Heint bis Morgan. The problem is the egg. So if the reason why you can't eat is because this egg was prepared on Shabbos for Yontif. Any Beitzah that was born now, may etmol gomrala. It was completed from the day before. So it says, here's machlokes. Do we hold of hachana d'Rabba or not? Beis Hillel holds of hachana d'Rabba. When was this egg completed, guys? And what was the day before? And the halacha is ein meichin me Shabbos liyontif. Good. According to Beis Shammai, good, it was completed the day before, but I do not hold of the Hachana of Rabbah. I don't hold the Hachana of Rabbah. I don't make the Gezerah.
Even though Hachana was not done for Bidei Adam, it was.
Oh, very good. We'll see Rashi in a second. You should prepare that you brought. Amalei Abaye Elamiyata Yontif Ba'alma Tishteri. On Yontif Beitzah Shenel Debi Yontif. And what? Meaning, and if the day before was Chayol, should be Mutter. Guys, you good? Guys, regular Yontif, and the day before was Chayil. Chayil, that's when it was completed. It was completed in Chayil. Chayil can be making for Shabbat Yontif. It says, Gezeirim Mishum Yontif Achas Shabbos. It's Gezeirim, if we allow you to eat it on a Chayil, a Yontif after Chayil, you may come to eat Chayil after Shabbos. Shabbos the Alma Tishtri. A Shabbos the Alma, it should be permitted. It's because what? You just eat it raw. A Beitzah Shenolda B'Shabbos should be permitted. Why? Because the Hachana was on Friday, Tishtri. Gezeirim Mishum Shabbos Achas Yontif. Gezeirim Mishum Achas after Yontif, where the Hachana was on Yontif. Umigas Rina would be Goiza, but Tanya, Hashecheres Tanagoilis, the Matzaba Bates and Gemurois. If you shech the Tanagoilis and you find completed eggs, Mutaris La Achlan Beyontif, then Isa Ligza Mishum Hanach the Misyaldim Beyomehen. Why should you be able to the one that's inside? Let's be Goiza to the ones that are outside. Amalei, Bates and Gemuras, Meima and Milsa Lashchichi. The Bates that's completed in the mother's thing is the Milsa Lashchichi or Milsa Lashchichi like Goiza Rabbana. Okay, so now we have a terrace. So we get to we're going to get to. Let's just do the not Goiza. The terrace over here. L'chayritz is the rice of the kedin. Muktzah is the Rabbanan the kedin, according to my Spoiskim. Even it might be carved the raisa, but hachana, according to this terrace, it's a deraisa take a problem. Ein Shabbos mechin l'yontav and yontav mechin l'Shabbos is bayom hashishi on the 6th day. Ve'chin v'shayaviu, right? That's what it says. So, base Hillel's of the opinion, since the egg, it's speaking Beit Shnel Yontif, that followed the Shabbos. Beit Shnel Yontif, that followed the Shabbos, right? Beis Shammai Matir, he doesn't hold that chana. Beis Hillel Matir, Aser, because he holds that chana. It was completed the day before. That's the teretz. That's the teretz, and that's the Eichatimsa of the Mishnah. So now, what about this Achana b'De'odim Mishmai? There's a lot of Rashis over here. Well, I want to let's do the Rashi Veichinu. Veichinu means vehezminoi. It means you prepare it. Kigain. Mikan ani oichel machar. In other words, you don't have to go ahead and do anything. You just have to say, I'm going to eat here tomorrow. That has to be at the hedging sif. Esa shetoifu afu. Elazmana b'pekamar. Ukasiv bayom hashishi. V'stam shishi choilhu. V'achshe rachmana l'suda Shabbos is man mibayom v'choil. Stam yom shishi like you prepared that day. The ein yont of mechin l'Shabbos. The yont of nami kari Shabbos. Okay, we're going to see every touch in a second. The yont of nami kari Shabbos ubay sudasay asmana v'asmanasa b'choil. Al sudas choil lechashiva. V'leishaychi be'asman hilkach. I'm looking with hilkach. Be'echa b'Shabbos ba'alma leslein l'misa beitzah shenol be'ei mishum the ischayim b'dei shemayim. The sudas choil it's israchor achmana. Zimun, something that a suda during the week you don't need zimun. Leishayich be'muktzah. So the chiddush over here that the achana, that even though the achana is what it is b'dei shemayim, it's still considered achana. Now there's a taisus over here. We should see a taisus kasha. Yeah, b'hoya b'yam hashishi brings in Rashi. Ach tema in the middle of taisus. Ach tema. Chayil v'achana deraisa heich oifin u'mevashten b'yontav Shabbos. Guys, how do we cook from Shabbos to Yontav? We use the means of an erev tavshilin, right? Good. How could you do that if it's deraisa? How can the rabbanon override deraisa? The chitema al yidei eruv tavshilin, and if you're going to say like Heshi did, al yidei erev tavshilin, chiosi takanta the rabbanon v'laka achana deraisa. Great kasha. Venerally ashe the rabba gufa azal tamei the islay hoyel. He holds of hoyel since be mikaloi orchim since Yontif, guys, right? If that happens, why can you cook on Erev Yontif? Because what happens if orchim show up? Who says that? Rabba. So therefore, that's the heta. That's the workaround. Islay hoyel v'imikloi orchim chazilei hashtanami chazilei. Also now it's seen to him, and therefore it's not considered a problem of achana. But feel the done nicha the chaldavar ofli mevushal shayich be'achana she'ena mechusa rak tikkun ba'alma. It's not missing anything. The meikara havi chazilei rak gabe beitzah shu dava chadash shlahoyse ba'olam lehoyse roy kfal meikara. So us that we have the food there, the ofli mevushal, therefore it's not a problem because it's there. So it's considered hasmana. It's considered muchar already. Mashenkin the egg is gufa. Adrabah, the fact that it's Beis Shemayim is the hachon, is the fact that it has a you need a chon and you don't have it because it was making the day before and you had nothing to do with it. You had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Tosfos ends up with an interesting kasha. What about mon? The mon fell on Yontif. How could you go ahead and use the mon for Shabbos? Right? The midrashim chalukim kedis b'medrash Shabbos la'yeh l'Rabbos Yom Kippurim la'yeh boy l'Rabbos Yontif shlehoy yared. There's one medrash that it did not fall down on Yontif. Boy Yishlama that filu hayared b'Yontif. Even if the mon fell down on Yontif, mikomakam b'Yontif shechal yes berev Shabbos lehoy yared. If Yontif fell on erev Shabbos, it didn't fall down. Yidachsiv kra boy b'yom hashishi like a siv shishi mashma hashishi miyuchid shuroy la'achana v'lei b'shishi shehu Yontif.
Why can't we say use the same higher like?
What?
Why can't we use the same higher by one?
What?
So I might have arachim, so the man,
No,
right? Maybe the guy next door, the guy next door, the midwas coming over.